Well, hello there. How are you doing? I'm Kev, as you well know. I hope you're all doing well and happy and healthy. Today, we are going to be adjusting the truss rod on my guitar. And I'm going to show you how to measure the neck relief so that we can dial in with the truss rod the amount of neck relief that we want. What is neck relief, I hear you say? Well, I'm glad you asked me that question because guess what? I have already done not one but 2 videos explaining neck relief, what it is, and why you need it on your guitar. They're linked right at the top of the description down below. Go have a look at them if you want. Alright, so why do we measure our neck relief? Here's why. Some of you may have already tried doing setups before, okay? You're making adjustments here, and you're making adjustments here and there, and you're not really sure what's going on, and it seems like no matter what you do, you're never happy. Measuring the setup takes all the guesswork out of it later on. So the first thing we need to do, okay, is figure out what we actually like. And again, being able to measure a particular setup and get at least to a ballpark just makes things so much easier and speeds the entire process up time. Start from the manufacturer's recommendations because that gets you in the ballpark. Then make adjustments from there to what you like best. Then measure that up, and once you've measured that, you're good to go, okay? And then you can apply that, as I said, to other guitars as you need to. If that doesn't work for another guitar, you'll be able to figure out what works best on that other guitar, and you'll always be able to get there. It just takes all the guesswork out. Some people say they could do it by eye. Honestly, I think you're fooling yourself if you think that. Especially when we're working with different guitars, because we have different height and width frets, we have different colors of fingerboard wood, we have different colors and different thickness of neck wood, and lighting and changes from guitar to guitar or from time to time that we're doing it. It's very hard to judge by eye. It's okay to judge by feel, sure, and with practice and experience you get better at deciding by feel what it is you need to do. But measuring is a huge, huge time saver. And for me as a guitar tech, when I'm actually working with customers and clients, the first thing I do when they say they need a setup is I go to a set specifications that I know, that I like, which are very close to a lot of the manufacturer's specifications, and that works for 90% of my clients right away. Okay, I'm going to put them up here. There we go, okay? These are the specifications that I go for as a ballpark. I'll show them to you again at the end of the video. All right, now, next question. So we've just answered why measure neck relief. What tools do we need to measure neck relief? Here we go. A capo. Some people call it a capo if you're American. In America, they call it a capo. The rest of the world, we generally call it a capo. So we're going to use a capo because it helps to free up a hand for us, okay? I'm going to use feeler gauges, okay? These are a set of calibrated blades, and they're marked on the blade with the exact thickness of the blade. Okay, we're going to use these and I'm going to show you how. All right, and then we need a tool of some description to help us adjust the truss rod. In this case, I'm using a 3mm Allen wrench. On this guitar, I have a spoke wheel adjustment here, so I just move this back and forth. All right, depending on the guitar you have, it could be anything from a 3, a 4, or 5mm Allen wrench, or an imperial size somewhere in between those. It could be a socket wrench, maybe it's going to be a 1/4-inch socket wrench, maybe it's going to be 5/16. Maybe you're going to use a big screwdriver like on the old vintage Fenders, okay? It doesn't matter, provided you have the right tool. The way we adjust the truss rod is exactly the same all the time, all right? On some guitars, you may have to remove a truss rod cover. You may be adjusting from here. On other guitars, you'll be adjusting from here. On some old vintage Fenders, maybe you're going to have to remove the neck or at least loosen the neck bolts to allow you access to the truss rod adjustment nut, okay? That's your own issue to deal with. We don't need to go through all of that because I don't have 17 million guitars here to show you how they all differ. As I said, the basic process here is the same all the time, okay? So you're going to need capo, you're going to need feeler gauges, and you're going to need the appropriate tool for your guitar. All right, so the idea behind what we're doing here. We are going to use the string at tension as a straight edge. And in principle, if the string is in good condition and you haven't bent it or kinked it, it does make a very good straight edge for us, okay? Now, the string is pulling this way on the headstock. The string tension is pulling this way on the headstock. The neck curves here. It doesn't curve here because it's thick and it's bolted, okay? The curve in the guitar neck starts at about here. We call that the body fret. That's the fret where the neck is at its thickest and joins the body of the guitar. On this guitar, that's about the 17th fret, so that's what I'm going to use that as my reference. What we're going to do, we don't care about the nut. The height of the nut means nothing to us. We're going to take that out of the equation. We're going to use our capo, and we're going to place it directly on top of the fret. Now, holding the guitar in playing position, which is important, not like this, but in playing position, we're going to hold down the string at the body fret, and then with the other hand, we're going to use the feeler gauges to measure the gap between the top of the fret, in this case the 7th fret, because it's about halfway from there to there, okay? All right, so the gap between the 7th fret and the bottom of the string. That's what we're measuring. And you can hear that. You hear that little tapping noise? That tapping noise tells me that the string is moving. That means that there is a gap in there. You may be able to see it, okay? Now, why am I holding the guitar in playing position? This is why. I've mentioned this in another video. On your planet, the same as my planet, gravity is real. Gravity pushes down on things. The weight of the body is being pushed down by gravity, and if the neck is being supported here, it's going to bend under the influence of the weight of the body. That's going to give us the wrong measurement. If I measure here, yeah, it's super convenient, you know, just measure like that, but we get the wrong answer because the neck is bending, okay? So we want the guitar to be in playing position, in the position that it's going to be when we actually play the guitar. Simple as that. If you're Jeff Healey, sure, you can do it that way, but you're probably not. All right, so that's what we're going to do. Now, the idea behind what we're doing, with the feeler gauges, we're going to slip the feeler gauges in between the fret and the string. We're going to find out which feeler gauge is the same size as that gap. That's how we measure the thickness of the gap, because the feeler gauges have numbers on them. I know exactly how thick they are, okay? So what we want to find is which gauge is just too small. Which gauge slides into that little tiny gap without touching the string. And we're going to go up in size and find out which gauge just barely touches the string. That's going to give us our answer. That's the one thing. Okay? All right. Let's do it. Let's find out. I've made some random adjustments to my truss rod this morning, so I have no idea what kind of shape this neck is in. So we're going to find out, and we're going to dial it in to where I like it to be. Okay? All right, here we go. Got to put on my glasses because otherwise I can see nothing. All right. As I said, guitar in playing position. Now I'm going to use my right hand to support the neck from underneath like this, and I'm going to use my thumb to hold down the string at the 17th fret. Okay? So the string is held down here, and the string is held down here, all right? The neck, you can think of the neck as bending underneath the string, and the maximum amount of that bend is about the 7th fret. Kind of doesn't matter exactly which frets you choose, okay? We're going to go 1st fret. You can use the last fret. Some manufacturers recommend that. Most of them recommend the body fret. Use the 7th fret or the 8th fret. Some people prefer the 9th fret. It doesn't matter. Just pick one and do that all the time so that you are always comparing like measurements, okay? All right, so now I know I'm working in millimeters. I'll have the inch numbers on the screen. My goal here is about 0.2 millimeters. So let me try that straight away. There's my 0.2 gauge, all right? Now I'm going to slide the gauge in under the string at the 7th fret, in between the two, all right? It's important that we keep the gauge parallel to the string, okay? If the string is like that, I don't want the gauge to go in at an angle. I want the gauge to go in parallel to the string. And it's easy enough to judge because I can see the reflection of the string at the top of the gauge, okay? There we go. Now I can see that there's very clearly a big gap under there. So that is a 0.2 millimeter gauge. I know that the gap is larger than 0.2. It's actually a lot larger than 0.2. So now I'm going to go up to 0.3. Okay, let's see how that works. Okay, body fret, 7th fret here. And again, that slides right in there, 0.3 millimeters. I can see a gap underneath it. I can see daylight, if you like, coming through the other side. So, again, my neck relief now is larger, I know, than 0.3 millimeters. Okay, let's go up to 0.4 millimeters. All right, 0.4 millimeters. That you get, I don't know if you can hear that. I can hear it touching the string. I can't get the gauge in without touching the string. So the answer might be 0.4 millimeters. I know it's larger than 0.3. The next size down from 0.4, between 0.4 and 0.3 is of course 0.35, which I happen to have. So let's see if 0.35 goes in. All right. Okay, here we go. Yeah, 0.35 goes in. Just about. I could just see a little daylight. So 0.35 I know is a little bit too small. 0.4 I know touches the string. So the answer I'm going to choose is 0.4. The neck relief here is 0.4 millimeters, okay? Now that's about twice the neck relief that I like to have, so I want to reduce the neck relief, okay? Now, as we know, the neck relief is because the neck bends under string tension. I want the truss rod to help counteract that, so I'm going to add tension to the truss rod, okay? The way we do that with our adjustment tool, okay, looking at the truss rod, so if it's a headstock adjustment, I'm going to be looking at the truss rod nut this way. If it's a heel adjustment, I'm looking at the truss rod nut this way, okay? And I'm going to be turning to the right to tighten and turning to the left to loosen. Right is tight, left is loose. I have too much neck relief here. I want less neck relief. That means I want more tension on the truss rod. So I'm going to tighten. I'm going to go to the right, okay? And here we go. So I'm just going to spread the strings here with my fingers because I can, and it stops me damaging the windings on the string with the tool. This happens to be on Music Man guitars. This is the spoke truss rod wheel. This is a 3mm Allen wrench, and I just stick it in there. You could use a small screwdriver too. And I'm going to tighten. So I'm going to go like that. That's all. Okay. I like to think of it this way. If from there to there is a quarter of a full turn. So I did about an eighth of a turn. Okay. And you're generally working in eighths, sixteenths, quarters. There are a lot of people who say that you shouldn't make too much of a truss rod adjustment in one go. It's honestly not a problem. Make the adjustment that you need. Even if that's a lot, that's okay. Do what is required and then just go on and play your guitar. Every time you need to make a truss rod adjustment, it's always safe to do so, provided you're not trying to force the nut. If you have to put a lot of force into it, you may have a problem. Get the guitar checked out by somebody, okay? All right, so I made 1/8 turn, more or less. Let's check. I know that my answer before was 0.35. So let's see, how much did that change? I'm going to try 0.25, just as a guess. All right, 7th fret. 2.5 has still got room there, and I want to get down to 0.20, so I'm going to do another tighten. In fact, I'm going to do one, and I'm going to do another one. 2. There we go. All right. Let's see how that goes. 0.25. 2.5 does not fit very clearly. It was pushing the string out of the way. I felt like I had to force it in between the string and the fret. The answer is now a lot less than 0.25. So let's go down to 0.2. Where's 0.2? There we go. 0.2, very close, very close. I could feel it touching the string, just grabbing. That might be exactly the number that we want. I think 0.15 is going to go in clean. Let's find out. Yep. Yeah, 0.15 goes in really clean. If 0.15 goes in clean without touching, then the next number up is my answer, 0.2 millimeters. So that's exactly where I like to have my neck relief, okay? Now, a lot of people say, as I said before, you know, you should only make a certain amount, don't make more than a quarter turn on your truss rod at a time. Honestly, I just don't believe that. Necks are resilient. Neck wood is resilient. These things are strong. The worst thing you can do to a guitar neck is break your truss rod by forcing it too tight, okay? If in doubt, loosen before you tighten, okay? Make sure that it's moving smoothly and cleanly, but then you can do as much as you like. So you just saw me there. I did 3/8 of a turn. Was that maybe 4/8 of a turn? Let's do some more. 1, 2, 2. I don't want to go more than that. It's pretty tight. And right now, I can tell you, yeah, the string is right on the frets. There's no neck relief there. How much can I do the other direction? 1. Loosen. Loosen. Come on. Loosen. There we go. I'm almost down to no tension. There we go. No tension. See, now it's just turning freely. How much neck relief do I have there? A ton. My neck's perfectly fine. My guitar hasn't exploded. There's nothing wrong here. Make any adjustment that you need at the time that you need to do it, and then play your guitar. You don't have to put the guitar aside and not play it for 24 hours for the neck to settle in. I don't really think necks settle in. It hasn't been an issue for me. I've been playing guitar for 30 years. I've been a pro musician for 20. I've been doing setups for a very long time. I have never come across a neck that really needed time to settle in. It's almost instant. Let me just recall for you what I said earlier. These are the numbers that we need, okay? 0.2 millimeter, which is 0.008 inches, is, for me, the magic number. It's not really a magic number, but that's the ballpark figure that I like, number one, on my guitars. It's also the ballpark figure that works best for 90% of all of my clients over the years, right away, okay? Where did I come up with that number from? When I worked as the guitar technician for at the time it was, I think, France's largest music store, I worked in the warehouse. So all the guitars would come in off the back of the truck, and I would be testing them and setting them up and making sure that they were ready to go for internet orders or to go down to the store. So in that time, I kept note of each of the manufacturers that we had and what their specifications were. Oddly enough, Gibson never gave specifications. I'm not sure they even do to this day. But I noticed, having gone through 250 Gibson guitars in 1 year, I noticed that there were a number of guitars that played great right out of the box, and I measured them up. Measuring, see? I measured them up, and every single time, the best playing Gibson guitars came out at 0.2 millimeters, which matched what I preferred on my own guitars too. Now, how much you actually need will depend, as I said, personal preference in some respects, what you actually like. There's no goal to get it as straight as you possibly can. That's not really a good thing. Go and see one of the videos I told you about at the beginning. So they're my numbers. They're the ones I like to have. That's what I go for. I recommend you try them first. If you don't like them, make a little adjustments. When you've made the adjustment and you find out what setup on your guitar works for you, what string action, and how much neck relief. Once you figure that out, measure it up, and you can always get right back there again. Measuring is a huge time saver. It doesn't mean that you're doing something by the book that somebody else tells you what to do. You are finding out what you actually need. Measure that up, and then you can always get back there straight away. Okay? Right. Any questions? Put them in the comments. If you like it, click like. I think there's even a little tip button there if you want. Thank you very much. What else do I have to say? Call your mom, of course. It's very important. Call your mom. She's a lovely lady. She makes great pies. You know this is true. Call your mom. She will appreciate it. And there you go. All right. Stay tuned for the next video. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.